dashur bashkëdhetar, ndodhemi në Muzeumin e Trashegimise së Hebrenjve këtu në Manhattan, ku asambleisti i shtetit të New Yorkut, zoti Mark Gjonaj, dhe prokurori i përgjithshëm të New Yorkut, zoti Eric Schneiderman, do të japin një pritje në nderim të rolit të shqiptarëve që ruajtën të gjithë hebrejt gjatë kohës së Holokaustit. Asnjë hebre nuk u vra gjatë luftës së dytë botërore, dhe për këtë sot do të jepet një pritje ku i ftuari i nderit do të jetë Kryeministri shqiptar zoti Edi Rama.
The Jewish refugees quickly left, either for their home country or in most cases Israel.
Të dashur bashkëdhetar, këtu pranë kemi Bac Balidemaj. Kam shumë respekt, jo vetëm për shkak të moshës së tij, i cili është 94 vjeç, por merr pjesë gjallërisht më shumë se djemtë e ri 20 vjeçar në të gjitha aktivitetet që organizohen. Ndryshe Bacën Balidemaj e quajnë edhe Mandela i plavës dhe i guxis. Mirë se keni ardhur sot.
Mirë se u gjeta e shoqëruesi pe shokët mbledhur shqiptarëve, e inshallah gjeni kanë më kanë bashk, e kur s'kana mundo, edhe këna milion ato gjonat, ato që ne dajnë, individualizmin me lon, e me dash shëqishojnë, se para azi nuk ka askur gjon. Ne shqiptarve në mogon, lakmia, gjelozia, edhe me në madhësia. Nuk në mogojnë shkollat. Shkollat qëri djelë shqyqur me shkollat të raon, ku ne në mogojnë razia. Me pas razi, në mundina me bo shtetin, mundina mu përmen, jo mos me marë rrugat e botë, po me i pas të natë mirët në shtetë tonë.
By the dawn early light was so proudly revealed, and the twilight last gleaming.
Rama, komuniteti shqiptar. The room has never looked so beautiful as it has tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Ilir Fundo, for that wonderful introduction. I welcome His Excellency, Prime Minister Edi Rama, to the United States and to New York City. Thank you for being here today. No jet lag could stop him from sharing some time with all of you this evening. I welcome and thank all of you for helping make this event successful at the spectacular Museum for Jewish Heritage. This event was the brainchild of my dear friend and colleague in government, New York State Attorney Eric Schneiderman. When he learned about a small country in a distant corner of Europe and the story about Albanian Muslims and Christians who risked their own lives and the lives of their families to save every Jewish person in Albania. For the last year or so, the Attorney General has been encouraging me to hold such an event, and tonight, with all of you here, it's come to fruition. So give all of yourselves a round of applause. A country where almost 200 Jews lived before the beginning of World War II, and approximately 2,000 at the end of World War II, where throughout Europe the whispers of desperate Jews escaping terror could be heard telling each other, if you make it to Albania, you will be saved. For this act of heroism, I thank every Albanian, as they all have a connection somehow, somewhere, and with someone who saved a Jew and ensured that Albania was the only country in Europe where not a single Jewish life was lost or handed to the enemy. These selfless acts were inspired by a set of beliefs known to Albanians as besa. Besa, a promise, is a sacred word. Its meaning has been transmitted orally from generation to generation for millennium, advocating and promoting justice for all humankind. Besa predates any religious beliefs and has governed the lives of Albanians ever since. According to Besa, someone's house belongs to God and the guest. If someone, even your enemy, knocks on your door at any time or day or night, seeking shelter in your home, you are obligated to welcome, protect, and honor him to the fullest. It is these sets of beliefs that compelled the Albanians to refuse to hand over the list of names and addresses of Jews in Albania. Albanians hid their Jewish guests amongst themselves when very few people in Europe did so. It is the same distinctive traditions and code which emphasize hospitality, generosity, courage, boldness, and valor. Something that no doubt has influenced the most famous Albanians of all, Mother Teresa and Jesh Kastrioti Skanderbeg. Each day I learn something new from my Albanian community. And the lesson learned from this event was one that I won't forget. Albanians don't understand ASAP or RSVP. But they all understand VIP. I am truly blessed and honored not only to be the Assemblyman for the 80th Assembly District and representing nearly 126,000 residents, but I am honored to be a representative of Albanians in New York and throughout the country and throughout the world. In closing, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to be here tonight. I thank the Attorney General, who will address us shortly, and the Prime Minister for joining us this evening. I ask the Prime Minister to strive to make our homeland better and prosperous for all, putting the interest of the people first, fighting corruption, reforming the judicial system, and someday allowing the diaspora to vote in future elections. I publicly acknowledge the Albanian community on their achievements and contributions to the United States and their homelands, and end with quoting the Israeli Prime Minister, Shimon Peres, who said, "Geography divides us, but history unites us." Ironically, today, that quote applies to Albanians more than ever. Our history, culture, traditions, and language unite us, even though we're known as Albanians from Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo, Macedonia, and Preševa. For the sake of our people, our homelands, our heritage, and generations to come, I encourage you to remove walls, build bridges, never forget your history and where you came from, and continue to make the world a better place for all. God bless you, God bless America, God bless Albania and Kosovo, and all Albanians throughout the world. Now it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you and welcome to the stage my friend and my colleague, your friend and your representative in New York State, the Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman. He serves as the 65th New York Attorney General since January 2011. Prior to becoming Attorney General, Mr. Schneiderman served as a New York State Senator for 12 years, representing Manhattan's Upper West Side. Prior to that, he held several positions, such as Deputy Sheriff Clerk for the U.S. District Court, partner at a law firm, and a public interest lawyer. During his career, Attorney Schneiderman has successfully prosecuted many high-profile cases, something that Albanian prosecutors should learn to do in the months and years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. This is a very moving experience for me, and I've done events here at the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a beautiful place as you can see, but it's very special tonight to be able to do an event to celebrate and honor our friends, and to make sure that a story that very few people know about in the Jewish community is told and told again and again. Some of our dignitaries have been acknowledged. We're also joined by Council Member David Greenfield, another distinguished colleague in government. And I want to thank the museum, the acting director, Alicia Shine, for hosting us in this beautiful room tonight and all the good work they do. And along with the 250,000 Albanian Americans who live in New York State, I am honored that we have Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama here with us tonight. Thank you. And Mark Jone is, there's not enough I can say about Mark. Mark is the driving force behind this event. This is really something that he made happen, he made sure happen, and he united the community behind it. And I am here to say, on behalf of our community, thank you for being here, and Mark, thank you for bringing our communities together. So, I'm here through just remarkable circumstances, but I don't believe in coincidences, so I think this was something that was meant to be. I ran into Mark, and he was actually, we were both leaving the state capitol in Albany, and he was with President Nishani outside the capitol, and he said, oh, Attorney General, this is the President of Albania. I thought, this is pretty random. I'm leaving the state capitol to get into my car, and here's the President of Albania. But then I knew that this was something that meant that Mark and I were going to have to work together on this, because 3 days later, at Friday night services in my synagogue, there was Mark again with the President of Albania, and they were there to receive a gift, because there were members of my synagogue whose families had been rescued by Albanians, and they wanted the President to be there to accept a gift. And honestly, before that week, I really didn't know of the incredible story of the valor and the selflessness and the courage of the Albanian people during the Holocaust, putting their own lives at risk to save not only Albanian Jews, but Jewish refugees from other European countries as well. I've come to understand the concept of Besa, the quintessentially Albanian idea that a promise given is a promise kept. This is very close to one of the most central tenets of Judaism. We live based on a covenant, we live based on a promise. And as one of the men featured in the film that's going to be screened later this evening says, for Albanians, and this is his quote, when something is requested, it becomes an obligation. Besa is a promised oath. And reading and learning of this history now, and I thank Mark for opening my eyes to this, it's important to understand how much pressure Albania had to withstand what was going on in Europe during World War II, how brutal and efficient the Holocaust was. 90% of Poland's Jews were killed. 88% of Germany's Jews were killed. 77% of Greece's Jews were killed. And many countries not only acquiesced in the Nazis' racial policies, but actually collaborated with them to terrorize and murder their Jewish citizens. Groups like the Iron Guard in Romania and the Arrow Cross in Hungary, collaborators in Lithuania and Latvia. Many people chose to work with the Nazis, work with the German SS to kill off hundreds of Jews. But because of Besa in Albania, there was a country that was different, that stood out from all the rest. The sense of obligation to provide shelter, to protect those in need of protection, made Albania different. And families were sheltered. This was part of all of society, I've come to learn, all levels of society. Individuals sheltered Jews in their homes. Local government officials helped Jews actually obtain and sometimes even forge travel documents so that they could escape to Allied territory. And the country's interior minister refused to provide the Nazis with the lists of Albanian Jews in spite of repeated demands. So the truly heroic acts of the Albanian people saved the Jews who lived in Albania, and it's remarkable. Of all the countries in Europe, Albania ended the war with more Jews than it started with. That is an extraordinary.
Now, Attorney General, we're glad that you brought up that the Jewish community doesn't forget. Because Albanians don't forget promises. And we're going to remind you that someday we're going to collect, and I think the Jewish community could start by recognizing Kosovo's independence. On behalf of you and the Attorney General, I'd like to welcome tonight's keynote speaker, the Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama. His remarks will be on building bridges between Albanian diaspora and its homeland. His Excellency Edi Rama has been Prime Minister of Albania since 2013. Prior to that, from 1998 to 2000, he served in the government as Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports. And he was the Mayor of Tirana from the year 2000 to 2011. He had a very successful career as mayor and was named the World Mayor in 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama, with a round of applause.
Same barber, different days. Dear Attorney General, dear Mark, dear Sal, dear fellow compatriots and friends, I'm really happy to be with you tonight, and thank you for being here and for receiving me. On my way to Washington, on an official visit to meet with President Obama and Vice President Biden, I could not but stop here first to have the opportunity and the honor to meet with all of you. I'm particularly pleased, and for this I must thank wholeheartedly the Attorney General, Mark and Sal, as well as everyone who has worked for making this event happen in this very place, Museum of Jewish Heritage. This venue has a very deep significance and resonates the very profound bond we Albanians have with the Jewish people. Previous speakers mentioned key moments of the Albanian story of saving Jews during Holocaust. I could dwell for hours on many little stories within the big story of how during those dark days for humanity, poor people from everywhere in Albania risked their life to save others, strangers, human beings in need. They never claimed anything for what they did. I guess everything I can say, we all can say, falls short of the powerful messages the photo exhibition and the movie Besa, The Promise, convey. One of the most renowned US movie critic houses, the Roger Ebert, has written a few days ago that Besa, The Promise, reveals the courage and generosity of Albanians and asks the rest of the world why not embrace Besa. I could not agree more. With Besa, the world, this world, would be a better place. Dear friends, a few weeks ago we celebrated the 25th year of re-establishment of diplomatic relations with the United States. Secretary Kerry visited Tirana in February and kick-started celebrations. We Albanians nurture a profound sense of gratitude to the United States. It has been forged in our deep historic ties, which go back to the birth of modern Albania at the beginning of last century. Our special connection has further strengthened through the long years of our democratic transition. It has further intensified with joint efforts to build our free society, strengthen the rule of law, but also in our journey in Iraq, in Afghanistan, on setting Kosovo free, and our close cooperation on common security-related actions and challenges. All this has led to the highest ever level of bilateral relations, the strategic partnership we signed last year. We are and remain eager to continue to build on this exceptional record to the benefit of our countries and nations. Dear fellow compatriots, last December we celebrated the quarter of century of democratic change in Albania. History has been particularly harsh to our nation. We've endured everything. Centuries of foreign domination, wars we did not choose to fight, arbitrary decisions by others more powerful than us, and one of the most brutal and absurd dictatorships in Europe. Yet, a strong nation with a particularly rich heritage, we have been resilient and have worked hard to find our place. In a quarter of a century, we have done more than ever since we Albanians exist. Here we are. Today, Albania has thoroughly transformed. Our GDP has increased 14 times compared to 1991. Albania is today an anchor of stability in the Balkans, a member of NATO alongside with the US and other friends and partners, a candidate for accession to the European Union, but more than anything, an ever stronger democracy, a free society with an admirable social cohesion, an oasis of respect among different faiths, something the whole world rightly admires. And on the other hand, I like to say and to repeat that we Albanians, we have never been better before. Not only in Albania, but also out of Albania, with another Albanian state, Kosovo, free, independent, and in its own. And I very much wish that, however the history will be written, nobody among the diaspora here in the United States will be forgotten for what has done to make sure that the dream that seemed to be an utopia became true, helping for the freedom and independence of Kosovo. And I'm sure I don't exaggerate if I say that without the Albanian American diaspora, this dream would have been much more difficult, if not impossible, to be achieved. Everything we have done and achieved is first a fruit of our commitment, of our efforts, our determination and energy. But we would not be here if it weren't for the strong and continued help and support from the United States of America. It must also be said, we would not be here if it weren't for the contribution of our strong Albanian American community, either in helping their families back home, in strengthening the relations of Albania with the United States, or in helping the US officials to better understand realities in our region, in our part of the world. Every US representative that has come to Albania speaks with praise and respect for the Albanian American community, and this makes us all very, very proud. A big thank you to all of you for every one of us. Yet, I am convinced we can do more and we can do better. I am pleased to announce here for the first time that in November this year, we will organize the first ever summit of the Albanian diaspora in Tirana. Work is underway and very soon details for participation and registration will be made public. Our bitter and divisive past, the decade-long miscommunication, the rush to discover the world and transition hardship in rebuilding our home have kept us rather apart. Not anymore. The summit will be a major event where the government and other national stakeholders will engage and discuss with the Albanian diaspora representatives from every corner of the world, over 50 countries, on concrete ways how we can strengthen our ties and cooperate with one another. First and foremost, how we can build as many as possible bridges of knowledge, because knowledge is the most precious thing Albania can be taught from all of you here and from all Albanians all over the world. It will be a gathering without any distinction on who we are, where we come from, in what we believe or what party we prefer. It will be a meeting animated by the desire to finally get together around ideas, concrete steps, action plans, and guided by the need to build the missing bridge between us, Albanians abroad, and the homeland. It will be the moment to show that we can live in different parts of the world, but continue not only to feel, but also to act as one. We can be dispersed in various countries, but always united around our values, our principles, our cultural and spiritual determination, our language and belonging, our unique Albanian identity. It will be the moment to discuss and hopefully agree on ways and means to structure cooperation by setting up mechanisms to work and implement projects that allow us all to be complementary, starting from making sure that all people in Albania knows the role models, knows the heroes of the Albanian diaspora in terms of the everyday work, of the everyday achievements, of the everyday success. Back home, our joint efforts can maximize progress and prosperity also by increased trade and economic links. In diaspora, we can do much more in preserving our language, in displaying our colors and image, preserving and developing our identity, offering better services through our consular networks, work with other governments in preserving individual and community rights. The summit of November will be the moment to demonstrate that we are now able and mature enough to do more and aim higher. There is yet another aspect I wish to highlight. This blessed country, called the United States of America, has in its foundations three main pillars: freedom, the American dream, and the equality before the law. These fundamental aspects make it possible for everyone to use their talents and skills individually, but also in community. I think we agree that no other community in the United States has been more successful and organized than the American Jewish, to defend their cause, to promote what they believe in, and in this way help themselves thrive in this country, but also help their motherland, Israel. I'm fully convinced that we have a lot to learn from them, especially in what makes them as successful, organized as they are, which is when what is in common to all is at stake, we are all one and united. This is what our summit of diaspora will be about. That Albania belongs to all of us. It needs everyone's contribution and is ready to offer the best service, help and assistance to everyone. Thank you again for this warm welcome, and I look forward to meeting, discussing and agreeing with many of you in November in Tirana. So you are most welcome, and we very much hope that you will help us to organize this summit and make it a real big first step towards a new era of communication and cooperation between all Albanians abroad and our motherland, Albania. Thank you very much. And out of the regular speech, I want to add a simple detail. I was in Israel a few months ago, and I had the big opportunity to meet all the big guys, but also had an important opportunity to look around. And believe me, Jewish people can be as messy as we Albanians are. So they look different because they know to make a little difference, which make big the difference between them and us. They never miss the point when it comes to their common cause, to their common identity, and to fight together against whoever threatens it. But in the same time, we can do the same, because when you look to them, once the big point is made, believe me, they are as messy as we are. They are as much as us able to fight with each other. The difference is made that they never fight about the big things. They fight about their small things, right? So it's another thing we can share together, Attorney General, and I'm sure in that we can exchange a lot of experiences. Thank you.
Albania, meanwhile, was torn apart by this vicious, paranoid, crazy 50 years of communism.
Well, first you can see it was very emotional. I'm Jewish, and I heard the story first because of Mark and his wife, who I know as my landlord and landlady when they lived in City Island, and I live in their apartment building. So finding out about it a few years ago was very special to me, and then seeing this tonight, and having had family that I don't even know about who were murdered by the Nazis, it's just very emotionally touching and beautiful to know this story.
What did you think of the movie?
The movie was wonderful. It deserved to be told. It was very emotional. I was crying half the movie.
Për televizion in Alba Live, Cosetta Zylo, New York.